Hi, my name is Barbara Chamberlin. I'm at NMSU's Learning Games Lab, where we develop educational games and I conduct research on game-based learning. And then for fun, my husband and I also create apps that we think our children will enjoy, such as the Letter Writer series. The Fred Rogers Center is engaged in a really great initiative to help define what quality in digital media looks like. As part of that initiative, I participated in a roundtable with a team of other developers, and I was asked to address the affordances and the challenges of the multi-touch environment. Multi-touch being iPad or other things where you can touch the surface directly. I think that's so important because this is sort of the bellwether for other development. We're seeing a lot of trends in the multi-touch development area that I think are going to expand to other areas of development. For example, it used to be that would have a bunch of developers who wanted to create media, and then that would be filtered through gatekeepers, publishing houses or development houses, to then create media such as for television. So if you wanted to create or discuss or really improve quality media, you would work through those gatekeepers to create what was then considered quality media. What's happening now in the multi-touch environment is it's so easy for lots of developers to get online. You can become a developer and start publishing on the iTunes store immediately. We have lots of developers out there creating media, and they are creating media, not just movies and videos, but iPhone apps, iPad apps, curricula that go with that. Now, this is in many ways a great thing because we have so many creative, passionate individuals who are throwing a lot at the wall to see what sticks. So we're getting to see a really broad spectrum of things developed. It's a challenge, though, as well, because they are creating a lot of content out there, which makes it even more difficult for the consumer to identify quality media. Also, if you want to improve or discuss quality media, you can't just go through a few lead gatekeepers anymore. You have to go through all the developers. Now, I think there are some developers out there who are just putting shovelware up to make money, but I have to say most of the developers I know are passionate individuals who really want to create good media. And usually what they pull on to do that is they look at their experience as a parent or a teacher and they say, how do I teach my child this? Whatever it is. And then whatever process they use, whatever content they teach, they create an app for that. Now, the problem with that is that those things are already being taught well by the parent or the teacher. And so what happens is the person developing the app uses their own experience and the way they're currently teaching things to teach things that are already being taught very well. So we're getting a lot of counting apps or a lot of basic what are your color apps or flashcard apps that just ask things such as what is 5 plus 4 for math. So this isn't terrible, but the truth is that any parent who is really looking for quality learning experiences for their child can do these things without the apps. They're already teaching them how to count and do colors and do that. So I'm not sure the technology is offering a lot new. I think the more salient question we should be asking is, what are children not currently learning? And how can children learn in different ways than they're already learning? How can media facilitate those new ways of learning? And what can't I teach them without technology? If we're going to have iPads and iPods and other kinds of multi-touch environments in front of kids, let's supplement what they're already learning with new processes, new approach, and content that parents may not already know how to teach. I think to help the developer, what we really could be doing is to help developers understand developmental stages. Speaking as a parent, I understand where my kid is right now, but I don't necessarily remember where they were when they were 18 months old, or know where they're going to be when they're 7, or understand how much those developmental stages change. So it helps developers to understand when kids play with language, when they move from concrete to abstract, and what that means, what gross motor skills are like at different age, and how that impacts game-based learning. I think developers also need to understand content standards. There's some great ones out there, from developmental stages from PBS to the Common Core standards for math and English, the National Science Standards. These are great because they help think in terms of what is right at what age. So instead of just teaching order operations such as multiplication, division, subtraction, we can be talking about order or comparing and contrasting or describing attributes. All of these really important concepts, in this case for math, that parents may not realize are age appropriate at different stages. I think developers also need to understand learning strategies. Flashcards certainly can work for some content in some areas, but also play, creative development, storytelling, social activity. How do these different strategies for learning impact the learner, and how can technology facilitate those? For example, some of the best ways to learn subtraction or think about math operations is to have kids tell a story about what subtraction looks like. Games can facilitate that when a lot of parents may not be familiar with that approach or be currently using it. Finally, I think we need to help developers think about marketing ethics. This is a new field, and we as developers are we're experimenting. And what works with Zynga with adult audiences may not be appropriate for children's apps. So let's help developers think about upsells in apps, or when a sponsored developer sponsors something, what their motivations, with the motivations of the developer, what's appropriate when we have media for children, advertising and that sort of thing. Now, I think the good news is, while this is my hope that we can reach developers with this kind of content, I think this content is exactly what the consumer needs to know and understand as well. I think parents or grandparents or family members who are looking to select apps, it also would benefit them to understand development stages, content, learning strategies, what those really look like in apps, and how apps can take learning another step forward or in a different way. My email is bchamber@nmsu.edu. If you've got some ideas on this and you'd like to share it with me, I'd love to hear from you. Or if you're just interested in some of my game-related tweets, you can follow me on Twitter @bchamber. Thanks.